Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Abu Muhammad Bashir, Business Education Studies teacher. Today, particularly to the JS1, today we are going to discuss source document. Source document. You will be wondering what this source document is. Source document is just a document or is an evidence to show that a transaction has taken place. Transaction in a way that either you are buying or you are selling. So we are going to look into it proper. And as you can see on the board, source documents are original documents used to record information about all business transactions. Business transaction, whether big or small, whether it is done on credit or cash, it has what to be recorded. And those documents are called source documents because they are going to be used for reference purpose. It can also be described as an evidence that a transaction has taken place. Yes, in a situation whereby, just like the way some people behave now, some people are mischief in such a way that they claim to deny or they deny that nothing has transpired between them and another person. But with the help of the documents, it can help in what? In serving as evidence to prove that yes, the transaction has taken place. Such documents are essential to bookkeeping and accounting processes. When you come to prepare final account, you must refer back to source documents in order to get a profitable and a directional trading profit and loss account. Source documents include the following. Source documents include the following. One, we have invoice. Invoice is a business document that is made out whenever one person sells goods to another. If a good is sold to you, you must be given an invoice describing the goods purchased, the units, and quantity purchased. Secondly, we have sales invoice. It is a request of payment by a customer for goods sold or services provided. Here is the customer that will request what he or she has bought from the market and the quantity as well as unit price that was bought. Is a request by the buyer to the seller. Number 3, purchase invoice is the opposite of sales invoice. Is a document or is a commercial document presented to a buyer by the seller or service provided for within a stated period. Here, the buyer or is a commercial document presented to a buyer by the seller or service provided for payment within a stated period. Here is the buyer that will present a document to a seller to enable them know when they are supposed to pay so that they will not be cut off at the end of the day. Number 4, a receipt is a document that acknowledges payment made by buyer to the seller. Is a document that acknowledges that yes, this item is being bought by so person at the rate of so, and on top of the receipt you will see address of the seller to acknowledge that yes, it is a physical business, not an invisible business. Number 5, credit note is usually prepared in red to differentiate it from an invoice, meaning it looks alike, but because of the color, it differentiates it from an invoice. It is used by the seller for goods returned if there is any overcharge. Mistakenly, a seller sells goods to customers and discover that the goods are overcharged. Definitely, the seller will have to issue what? Credit note to correct those anomalies. Number 6, debit note is issued by a buyer to the seller to show the amount owed to the buyer for goods returned. This document enables the buyer to communicate to the seller that it enabled the buyer to communicate, enable the seller rather to communicate to the buyer that goods has been overcharged. So we are sending you a debit note in order to reverse what has been overcharged. And last but not the least, check. Check is a means of payment in written order from a client to his or her bank. That is, it is a document that is used in the bank for as a means of payment. I can decide to issue anybody a check to withdraw a certain amount of money, and without me being present there, the bank will go ahead and issue them the money. So, so far, this is where we are going to stop for today's lesson. When we meet in our next lesson, we'll continue from where we stop. But before we go, I will want us to go to solve this homework at home. Number one, what is a source document? Number 2, list 5 source documents you know. Number 3, differentiate between invoice and a receipt. Before I call my number for the WhatsApp, I will want you to want us to go back to this instructional material. This is a sample or an example of an invoice. This is how it is. It's issued by a seller to a customer or a buyer, and this is also a check to corroborate the number 7 here, which we have already discussed earlier. This is how a check looks like, and this one is a check for Access Bank. So this is how it is. So please try and do this homework and submit the answer to my WhatsApp number 08065662156. Thank you. Bye and have a nice day.